Hello, Alex Fumero, Cristina Constantini, and Kareem Tabsch. Please tell my audience about why they should watch your Netflix documentary, Mucho Mucho Amor.
The number one reason is Walter Mercado is one of the most entertaining people in the history of humanity, I would say. And that's not an exaggeration. You know, he's like a combination of Liberace, Oprah, and Mr. Rogers kind of all rolled into one. And if you're Latino in the United States, growing up watching Walter with your grandma is like more or less a rite of passage. It's like you have a quinceañera and you watch Walter on TV.
All right, so that's cool. And of course, Walter is an astrologer, for those who don't know. And I was wondering, what do you guys, where do you guys come down on astrology? What are your thoughts on it, generally speaking?
I think we're all healthy skeptics about everything, and none of us are pre-described fans. Not fans. None of us are pre-described followers of astrology. But we recognize that astrology is kind of a belief system for a lot of folks, and in the case of Walter Mercado, he used it as a way to motivate and inspire people to live their lives with love and peace and hope. Because ultimately, I think that Walter used the horoscope and astrology and his kind of unique melange of blending different belief systems into a vehicle to inspire people. And make them feel better. And because of that, he meant so much, I think, to so many people.
What's an effective astrologer? What made Walter stand out a little bit?
Well, Walter, I can speak to Walter, certainly. You know, I think he used astrology. He used the capes and the fabulous hair and the jewelry, all as a vehicle for a much larger message, which was one of love and peace and hope, really. His audience were a lot of immigrants, many who had come to a country that they didn't understand, where they didn't really speak the language, and many of them struggling financially. And I think what Walter provided his community, our families, was this sense of hope that tomorrow was going to be a better day, and that the most important thing to keep at the center of your life was love, and if you lead your life with love, everything would be okay. And so I think really, for Walter, he was what I think we were all surprised to learn what a brilliant man Walter was, and that all of these things that seemed funny or maybe over the top or extravagant or fabulous were actually very well considered, intentional things that he was doing to make sure that his audience was paying attention. And so, the capes, he called them estupideces. He called them stupid things that he was using. He was very aware that this was part of the act. He would say that the capes are the frame and the message is the picture. And it needs a frame for people to pay attention. So for Walter, he was a performer. He was a very talented performer and a very brilliant visual storyteller. I think that was the secret to his success.
And at the same time, I mean, he was a real student of astrology. I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of anyone in the Western Hemisphere who has like popularized astrology sort of single-handedly more than Walter Mercado. At the time that he started doing this, which was 50 plus years ago, there was very little talk of astrology, and Walter kind of brought it into a more mainstream audience's household.
Do you guys have a favorite Walter costume?
That's a good question. He had so many different looks, and I think part of what made him so appealing was that he got how important the visual look was, so they varied so different. My personal favorites, honestly, are the ones that are particularly ugly. He has, I always think of one that is blue and black. It's like blue sequence, but like a kind of sequence you'd buy by the yard at Walmart, and black lace. And it looks like, and I don't know if this is a Latino phenomenon, but it looks like the cozies that I remember in like my aunt's house that they would use to make little dolls and cover the toilet paper rolls. It looks
Yep.
Yep, it looks exactly like that, and it is particularly hideous, and in its ugliness, it is beautiful.
Yeah, I would say my favorite. There's one that I love that's white and with gold trim, but that one's very fabulous. I think my favorite is this one that looks like a pumpkin. It's his Halloween cape, and it's in the film. And in fact, somebody in the film says it looks like a pumpkin trying to swallow him, because it's like spider. It's amazing. It's the biggest. It has this huge collar. It's hideous, truthfully.
Yeah.
That one's pretty cool. That one's my favorite. So, who name drop for me? Who were some famous people Walter did readings for?
So, the funny thing is that of the things that we tried to get out of Walter, those were probably the most well-guarded secrets that they would not budge on. Because he very much, as he explained it to us, and as his assistant Willie explained it to us, Walter kind of took an oath that was totally confidential. I remember that during one interview, Willie made a passing reference, and we, Cristina, being the investigative journalist she is, was very quickly able to figure out who he was referring to and said it out loud. And it was probably the biggest reaction we got out of him, because it was such a well-guarded secret. But what we can say is that what had been reported in the press is that he did readings for Reagan and Clinton. That was kind of out there in the media, and we came across that in our investigations. But Walter and Walter's team would never confirm or deny any of those.
Well, there was Gloria Vanderbilt, who was was like a friend of his, Anderson Cooper's mom, and the famous Vanderbilt name, who had frequently got readings from Walter.
And Lin-Manuel, of course, which is in the film.
Right.
What do you think Walter would have said to Trump?
Oh, he was.
Oh, he had a lot to say about Trump. Yeah, he was
really?
not. He was not a fan. Not a fan. His message, his message is somewhat the opposite of Trump. Like he's extremely kind of pro immigrant, pro being yourself no matter how different you are, and it's not that Walter is the sort of like embodiment of inclusivity, so yeah.
His he believes gender is fluid. He believes everyone should be able to love whoever they want, and he is not eager to play on division or hatred. He very much preaches the opposite, which is love and inclusion. So we sometimes would call him the anti-Trump, because he also has golden hair and has somewhat of a stage presence. So in many ways he's an anti-Trump figure for us.
Very interesting. What was your your individual experiences like at the Sundance Film Festival this year?
Totally crazy. I think we would all describe it as a roller coaster of emotions. I think Walter passed away just a day after we submitted the film to the festival, and then we went back to the island for the funeral, where Alex and Kareem were pallbearers. We got very close to the family over the course of the 2 years. And so it was a very difficult time, I think, for us, those months leading up to the festival. And then the festival itself was a whirlwind, and it was very bittersweet. We had so much fun, and it was validating, and it was wonderful to be able to share this icon story who we had worked so hard to kind of memorialize. But then knowing that he wasn't there with us was I think very sad for us. He would have killed the festival. He would have been in amazing capes. He would have loved every moment of it. And so, it was a bittersweet experience, I think, for us.
Yeah, it's great. And you guys got in right at a time, since, so many festivals are just online this year.
That's
yeah,
great.
We got very lucky that we actually had, a bona fide real life premiere. That was that was a rarity, unfortunately, this year.
Well, yeah. Well, congrats for you on that. And also, I was wondering, what does it mean personally to you to have this documentary on Netflix?
You know, we often say, you know, as Latinos, we've been so lucky in that we have had the pleasure and the privilege of having Walter Mercado as part of our lives and our culture for decades. You know, we had this great responsibility to tell his story, but we also felt we had a great responsibility to share him with the rest of the world. And that's what this documentary is allowing us to do. And we couldn't think of a better partner than Netflix. You know, July 8th, the film launches in 190 countries in 30 different languages. It is the largest platform that we could have hoped for to kind of share Walter's message, which today seems more important than ever. So we're really stoked about the fact that Netflix is bringing the movie out into the world.
Yeah, well, it's Netflix. I mean, does it get any bigger, especially during COVID? Not really, for a documentary.
Sure.
So, Cristina and Kareem, what is it like to co-direct a documentary?
It's wonderful. I mean, it's for both Kareem and I. It's our second features that we've co-directed. We both co-directed other films with different people. Kareem made a film called The Last Resort, which is beautiful, and you should check out on Netflix. And I made a film called The Science Fair. But I think it's really a cool experience because you learn so much from the other person who you're working with, and the film really becomes like a baby and like a melding of all the talents of the filmmaking team that's putting it together. I love shooting verite. I love, you know, like in-scene work. And Kareem he worked with archival brilliantly. I have never really worked with archival, so I had no idea how that all works, or, you know, I didn't even know what a heavy lift archival truly is. And so I think the film is really a blending of our skills and, you know, we have a shared sense of humor, all of us, the three of us. I think we love like the over the top and quirky. And so I think it was a really fun experience to put it together with a similar vision, but different skill set. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, and the give and take was fun and so important, I think, to the ultimate success of the film. Because, you know, the funny thing is that Cristina and I had never met before we decided to make the movie together. Alex basically brought us together because the three of us individually were pursuing the idea of a Walter Mercado doc. And our skill sets were certainly different, but while we had this kind of shared sensibility and the shared passion, you know, we're also individuals. We had different takes. And so at different points during the film, you know, there's things that one of us really was into and the other one was not. And there's a couple of instances where it was probably frustrating, but, you know, the beautiful part about collaboration is that when you work through that and you get on the other side of it and you realize that having somebody who challenges what you think and having somebody who has a different perspective, when you share an overall goal, makes the final product stronger, the final work of art stronger. You're really grateful to have a partner who you can rely on and who challenges you. And I think we did that for each other. And we're still friends and we love each other and we didn't kill each other. I think that says a lot about it because it's like, you know, this is a 2.5 year process of making this film and with somebody that I had never met. And if it wasn't for, you know, really being able to trust each other at the end of the day, even when we disagree, you know, the film wouldn't be what it is. And we're also terribly proud of what it is.
Well, that's nice to hear because I have asked that question to others and have not gotten the same sort of response. So that's really refreshing. And guys, I want to thank you very much for making this wonderful documentary, Mucho Mucho Amor, because anything that shows astrology in, like, you know, a fun light like this is worth checking out. And it's on Netflix, so there's no excuse to skip this one. So I would ask you guys to play a Walter before you go and give my audience some pearls of wisdom to deal with coronavirus.
Wear a mask, but make it fabulous.
Okay. All right, well, we'll leave it at that. Get a psychedelic mask. That works for me. Take care, guys.
Bedazzle your mask.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Michael. We appreciate it.
All right, take care, guys. All the best.